Well, as we saw at the very end of the game, and by a considerable margin, we know Seattle was the big winner at the big game. But let's talk about the ads that won because oh my goodness, I can't wait to dive into this. Let's do the winner from like 5 big categories and then we can kind of get into a little deeper of a discussion. So let's go like do you want to go one by one like food? Who is the big winner in food?
Sure, we can go through them one by one. What we did in the report is we actually organized it into sections. So,
Okay.
because keep in mind that these advertisers are not competing across all categories. They are sort of, but they are mostly competing with their competitors.
Of course.
So when you look in like different categories, like food, for example, you'll see that a lot of them actually perform very well. So food is one of the higher performing categories of ads for the Super Bowl. So the number one that cut across most groups was actually Pringles with Pringle-Leo. Pringle-Leo. The doll that was, or the,
Oh, yeah.
the boyfriend that was
The
made out of
dreamboat,
Pringles,
the
the
Pringles
dreamboat.
dreamboat.
Exactly. Sabrina Carpenter's boyfriend. So this was actually received very, very well. It had humor. It was distinctive, but importantly, the Pringles were featured and the stackability and the aspects of the product were actually very prominently featured. And even eating the product, it's showing someone enjoying the product. And as a marketer, you have to think about like, how do I get the person to want to bite a Pringle, and how do I make it desirable? And what a clever idea that they had to make it desirable. And to put the woman in charge, and at the end she's like, well, here I am eating my Pringle. It's kind of it was fun, but it featured the product really prominently. And I think they
Yes.
did a great job, and that's why they scored so well with so many different demographics.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. This is one that originally kind of flew over my head because I'm like, okay, zany, not the most hilarious idea, but you're right. I'm remembering the crunch of those Pringles, and even when somebody like tackles Pringle-Leo, spoiler alert, listeners, but that crunch is a recurring element throughout, and like your Pringles. You don't really have to like lay your value proposition out in like cold hard terms.
Right.
So very, very cool. Very, very cool. I kind of changed heart as I watched that ad a second and third time. Did what it needed to do.
Well, and keep in mind, a brand like Pringles is already so well known, so sold in every grocery store, sold in every corner shop, every gas station. Everybody knows the brand, but they're reminding you of the taste and the feel, the mouth feel, and just they're trying to instill that, evoke that memory that you might have of eating Pringles. And so I think they do a really good job. And, keeping in mind people are watching the game, want to have snacks, they're thinking about it, and it just makes the ad very, very likable, and it performs very well.
And honestly, portraying Sabrina Carpenter as the character that she
Yes.
authentically portrays
Yes.
means a lot.
Yes.
If you cannot just plunk celebrities in, and we'll talk about that in a bit. You can't just plunk a celebrity in and say you've got the job done. It needs to be true to them, because if they're just there, like if she was at like an amusement park and having a wacky day, like what does that mean to anything anywhere?
Right.
So very, very cool. Beverages, very unsurprising. The king reigns, but let's get into it a little bit.
Yes, so Budweiser American Icons. I think all of us saw this ad and knew it was going to perform well with the majority of Americans. Again,
Yup.
who can resist the Clydesdales? I'm actually surprised that more brands don't use like animals and pets, because they always perform well. They always give a higher sales impact score. It's kind of remarkable that not every brand wants to use them.
Yeah.
But the Clydesdales are so iconic, and they actually added a baby eagle. And as soon as I heard about this ad, I was like, oh, what could be more American?
Yeah,
and they
done
even
deal.
called in American Icons. But it also had a little bit of humor. It had the beginning, we're all fawning over the babies and, oh, aren't they so cute? And then you see them grow. So it appeals to the heart because it's, looking at something little growing up. It appeals to parents. It appeals to everyone.
100%.
Yeah. So I think they did a really good job. And last year, they had the pony. And so this year they took it up a level. Let's add more baby animals. Let's add a Dalmatian in there. They had quite a few animals, and people love animals, so.
Absolutely. But it's very important to kind of point out the foundation work that Budweiser put in.
Yes.
Like, you can definitely add animals and get the attention factor and the engagement factor up a little bit, but like to the bedrock of the Clydesdales, and like maybe they're not the star in every one of the last 20 years, but you didn't stray from them, and that feeling that like Bud is American beer, but in a way that's like everybody America. Like I really think that like people can learn, but step one is developing an iconic brand.
That's
which I think
right.
they did a great job at.
That's right. That once you have that in people's memory, you can build on it and reinforce it and tie new emotions to it. And, you know, I was checking in the report, you know, the love score was 55%. And the norm, the benchmark that we measure against, which is a curated norm of the top performing ads in the United States, is 27.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's like, you know, more than double. And it's pretty impressive. Overall emotion was also 75 and the norm is 57. So, and distinctiveness was 4.3 and the norm is 3.7. So it got an 88 on sales impact score, which means very likely to deliver long-term ROI as well as short-term sales impact for the brand.
And that one shot with the wings of the horses jumping, just cinema. Absolutely
Yes.
cinema.
Yes.